and welcome to the Recruitment CEO's Insider Guide podcast. I'm Jane Pettitt. I am flying solo today, but it is a delight to have you here. And I want to talk about something that I'm seeing across the industry at the moment, which is how we end 2025, how we actually end 2025 strong and we overcome that year-end burnout and that slump that quite often we see in small business owners. So picture the scene. It's the final stretch of 2025. The Christmas decorations are going up all over the place. Fatigue is creeping in. You are starting to run on fumes. Your team's morale might be dipping as that year-end slump sets in. If you're a recruitment business owner with a small team, this probably sounds familiar. You're trying to drive to success and then meeting some resistance. And look, you're not alone. I think it's something like over half of the workforce reports feeling burnt out as we head into that busy Christmas season. So there's no reason why business founders shouldn't feel it too. Year-end burnout, though. So let me start again. Why does this matter? Because year-end burnout isn't just a personal struggle. This can really hurt your business. This can dictate how you end the year and also impact how you start 2026. When you and your team are exhausted, productivity and client services are bound to suffer. But for many people, this can be make or break time for hitting annual targets and setting the tone for 2026. So what I want to talk about today and what I want to help you with, because I am a helper, is how to, rather than limp across the finish line, let's make sure that you finish strong, and if you have a team, to help them do the same. So whilst I'm sitting here flying solo, what we're going to talk about today is the mindset and the leadership strategies that you need to overcome the year-end slump. We're going to talk about why burnout hits and how to flip that mindset, and then we're going to dive into some practical tips from delegation to energy management to actually setting boundaries and actually giving yourself some quick wins. I'm going to try and help you finish 2025 proud and energized, not just finished. So I think it's something like 55% of workers report burnout as the year comes to an end, as that, the supermarkets are screaming Christmas, the fairy tale lights, we feel that split between personal and corporate world. So small business owners, you're in the thick of it right now. And normally as well, this is where admin starts to take over as well, because and not only is there all the stuff to do for Christmas, the stuff to do for the business, that's the extra stuff that seems to come around at this time of year. Like, if you're drained and you know that your motivation is nosediving right now, you're probably in very good company. And in all honesty, Q4, as what it is for many of us, this end of year period often magnifies pressure. There's a real final push to hit recruitment targets. There's a conception that clients will go quiet or delay hires until January, probably a different podcast in that. And then there's just the general sort of of the holidays. Workload spike, energies drop, burnout comes in. So you might see these burnout signs in yourself. You might see them in your staff. Exhaustion, checking out. Sometimes it doesn't announce itself outright, but it can just show up as a bit of a blah feeling. But the leadership cost of burnout, so this slump's not just about feeling tired, it's got real business consequences. Productivity will drop, decision making will plummet when you're running on empty, and important tasks can fall through the cracks. Burnout can quietly fuel turnover. There's a huge impact of employees who can plan on leaving at this time of year. And we know this, we work in recruitment. Who's ever checked their ad response the day after Boxing Day? And it's getting louder. So in a small recruitment team as a leader, if your fatigue is trickling down, if you're feeling demotivated, if you're feeling overwhelmed, your team's going to sense it and mirror that energy. So recognizing how you feel is the first step to tackling it head on, so you can protect your business and you can protect your people. So let's get stuck into this. Let's start with a mindset shift. So I want you to reframe the finish line. So think purpose over panic. So redefine finishing strong. Let's absolutely flip that script on what this means. It's not about working till you drop. And I think, as a recruiter, that's kind of what I used to think. And dare I say, ashamedly, maybe even as a business owner, it's all about, let me just get to Christmas Eve and then I can chill. Finishing strong, so finishing the year strong, isn't about force. It's about alignment. So as we work through December, I would take a moment to define success on your own terms for this quarter. Maybe it's just closing one more important deal. Maybe it's revitalizing a client relationship, or maybe it's simply ending the year with systems in place for a smoother January. Really successful entrepreneurs treat the final quarter of the year like a runner or a professional athlete would treat a final lap. They stay calm, they stay focused, they stay strategic rather than panicking. You want to end 2025 with numbers on the board and with the confidence that you've led your team with clarity and with purpose. So one of the things that I do in my business through December, because like everybody listening to this, I'm not immune from any of these signs of burnout. The first thing that I always do is I adopt a growth, not a guilt mindset. So it's really easy at this time of year to fixate on goals that you haven't hit. Historically, at this time of year, I always think, oh, it's the Christmas party. I thought I might be a dress size down. And that's what we focus on instead of what we've achieved. This sort of mental checklist can be brutal. I thought I'd be further on by now. I thought I'd have placed more business. I thought I'd have a bigger team. That doesn't serve us. So what I want you to think about at this time is how to consciously shift to a growth mindset. View December and trickling into January as an opportunity. Maybe everything didn't go perfectly this year. When does it ever? But focus on the lessons learned and how you've grown as a founder and encourage your team to do the same. So reflect on the wins that you maybe achieved earlier in the year and draw motivation from them. Highlight progress. Share that with your team. If you had a exceptional August or September, hey guys, remember when we hit those targets, remember when we overachieved. We start to replace year-end gloom with a sense of accomplishment. I've just finished running both internally in Rocket and externally for clients, a Christmas cash campaign where we've talked about really pushing and raising December figures and really ending the year on a high. One of the key things we've talked about in that training and development is that as a leader, you have to be at the forefront of this. But I'm very conscious that when I say this to business owners and I say this to leaders, that we also need to look at how we protect you to make sure that you finish with intent and not exhaustion. So in these last few days and weeks before Christmas, what I would argue is prioritize quality over quantity. It is better to wrap up a few things really well than to half finish a dozen tasks. Give yourself permission to not do everything. As counterintuitive as that sounds, slowing down your frantic pace can really help speed up your effectiveness. When you focus on what matters most, you close out the year on a strong note instead of a stressed whimper. I can remember a Christmas some time ago when I ran a small recruitment team, and I had a list in my day book, and in that list I had things that I needed to do before Christmas, and then we closed between Christmas and New Year. I had a list of things that I was going to do when we were closed, when I was going to catch up. And I remember my daughter reading that list and my daughter going, "Are you not having a break over Christmas?" And I was like, yes, of course. These are just a few things that I need to do. They weren't a few things. They were huge. They were big tasks that I hadn't made time for in the year. So I decided I would take the time that I should be spending with my family to do them. And that was the wrong mindset, categorically the wrong mindset. But yeah, it felt right to me at the time. But if if you're feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, sometimes that's where we go to. How can I kick this can down the road? When can I get this task done? So what I would actually say is some things will go into next year. Or perhaps if they weren't important for you to do all year round, then maybe they're not actually that important, or they're not a you job. Maybe we need to take some time to think about that. But at this time of year, what I would recommend you do is you wrap up a few things really well, rather than leaving lots of tasks on your to-do list. What you focus on matters most, because then you can close out the year knowing you've succeeded. This mindset shift sets the stage for the next step. And the next step is breaking that do-it-all trap. So this is where we talk about lightening the load, smart delegation. If you're a recruitment business owner, you've got a small team, you are probably used to wearing the hats. I always talk a lot about one of my old clients before I started working with them. And I said, tell me about your day. And they were like, well, I get up, I come to work, but normally when I get to work, oh God, this morning there was no milk. So I bobbed out and bought the milk. Then I came in, I grabbed the post, and I was like, whoa, you run the business. Why are you buying the milk and opening the post? So, and that was a real kind of eye-opener. Why is that you? Is that what you pay yourself for? Is that what your hourly rate is worth? So as a business owner with a small team, you are probably used to wearing the hats. You're probably used to doing sales, delivery, marketing, admin, finance, payroll, etc., etc., the VAT return. Doing everything is always a fast track to burnout for you and your team. And I'm going to give you a stat here that I scribbled down before I came on. 61% of entrepreneurs feel burnt out, and it's often because they can't let go of tasks. So at this time of year, if you feel you've got a lot on, maybe this is the time to step back and look at what doesn't need to be on your plate. Can you outsource your finance? Can a team member handle candidate screenings? Can somebody else buy the milk? Maybe some of the admin chores, interviews, invoicing, etc. can be handled by either software, AI, an assistant. Even automating small tasks, or just say not this month, to a low priority project can really free up some significant mental space. And this is how we start to take the steps to evade burnout. I'm a very big fan of whenever I feel overwhelmed, the first thing that I do is I stop. Because I know that when I'm in a state of overwhelm, typically all I do is go, technically speaking. And when I'm doing, I'm not being productive in any way, shape or form. So when I recognize that I've got too much on, there's too much on my plate, the first thing I do is I stop. I remove myself from my desk, which isn't as easy as it sounds. I'm terrified to say this because I have my dogs in the room with me, but sometimes I take my dogs for a walk, she says quietly, so they don't hear the word. Sometimes I just go downstairs and make a cup of tea, but I make it that I have time away from my desk, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour. Then when I come back, I redo my to-do list. And whether you use a pen and paper, Asana, Trello, OneNote, a Google Tracker, whatever that looks like for you, what I do is I go through that and go, right, what needs to be done and what needs to be done by me? What is the most important thing here? And that then allows me to succeed. And it's amazing what I can clear off my desk that doesn't need to be done by me. But I just put it on my list because, hey, it only take me 5 minutes. So when we start to delegate, we also empower. Delegation isn't a sign of weakness. It's a leadership strength. Your recruiters, your support staff, everyone can step up if you give them a chance. In our Christmas cash campaign that we've run recently, we talked about creating a shared incentive across the business, and we said very clearly, delegate this. Give this to somebody else in your team. Sharing responsibility can really energize a flat team. So pick somebody who can help you diversify your own workload. For example, you might delegate a senior team member to field day-to-day client updates. You might put somebody in charge of any tech issues. This allows you, in this crucial final month of the year, to focus on the strategic moves, like your hiring plan for next year, your key account management for next year, instead of fighting every small fire. And when you do delegate, if you're somebody that struggles with delegation, Be very clear about expectations and give the necessary context. Give people operating processes to work to so they know what they're doing and their expectations. I'm a big fan when it comes to delegating work. I create SOPs. I'm not naturally an SOP creator, but I have a very simple cheat sheet. I record myself talking as I am today. I take the transcript, I drop it into AI, and I ask it to create me an SOP based on my words. It's a lot quicker than how I used to do it 3 years ago, and a massive win for me. It also means that I've got a written outline of exactly what I'm delegating to my team members. And then here's a biggie. When we're trying to finish the year high and we're trying to get some of the stuff off our plate, we are going to need to trust our people. Lay out what a win looks like for the work that you're delegating, and I suspect you'll be pleasantly surprised. Team members often rise to the occasion when they're given ownership. And if you are worried about quality, set check-ins rather than micromanagement. Because let's face it, nobody likes that phrase, micromanagement. And the difference there between a check-in and micromanagement is, a check-in is, hey, let's have a catch-up every day at 5 o'clock and you can update me with what's going on. Or, hey, let's have a catch-up every day at 5 o'clock and this is where I expect you to be this time tomorrow. Any questions, give me a shout. Micromanagement is, hey, how are you getting on with that? Hey, have you done that yet? When you haven't set any form of deadlines. Remember, the goal here is to remove excess weight from your shoulders so you can lead and breathe. The benefit of this is by delegating, and this obviously can be at any time of year, but we're talking about it being in a slightly more pressure cooker environment that can be in the run up to Christmas. You can then conserve your limited year-end energy if you are feeling like you're spiraling downwards, and you can use that energy for things that only you can do. I might be supporting a struggling team member. It might be strategizing for 2026. It might be negotiating a critical deal and getting it over the line. But this is a real win-win. You start to prevent your own burnout. Your team gains experience and confidence, and you show them that you trust them, which boosts morale. To be really clear on this, what I'm saying is stop doing everything alone. Every bit of help or automation can give you back hours and sanity. Here's the bottom line. Leadership isn't about carrying the whole load. It's about steering the ship. Give the oars to your crew. Just for a little bit, then you can focus on the horizon. It's one of my favourite sayings. So, maintaining your energy as a leader at this time of year. I want you to treat your energy as a KPI. In other words, measure it and protect it like the valuable resource that it is. Your personal energy level is contagious in a small team. If you are dragging, your team is going to feel it. Conversely, a recharged, focused leader can lift everybody up. I remember years and years and years ago, I worked with a regional manager called Ian. Every time Ian walked into the office, the whole sales ability of the office went up by 10. He would walk in and he would be booming, "Good morning, everybody. How are you?" He would go around every consultant individually. "How are you? How was your weekend? What's going on? What deals have you got coming in?" And we all raised our vibe. We all raised our energy. Conversely, the other side of that is if you're burnt out and your team notice, they will also follow in that same vein. When you come in and go, "God, is it Christmas yet? Oh my God, put the tree up last night. I'm just exhausted." Or, "Come on, guys, we're nearly there." Think about that language. Think about that. I call it victim language. Think about how that makes your team feel. If you look exhausted, you are giving permission for them to be exhausted. And we don't want anyone to be exhausted. What I'd recommend right now is just do a very quick self-check-in. On a scale of 1 to 10, how close to burnout are you right now? If that number is uncomfortably high, 7 and above, it is now time to prioritize your well-being as a strategy. And please remember at this point, no strategy will work if you're running on empty. So one of the ways to safeguard your energy is to set boundaries between work and rest and actually stick to them. Establish some non-negotiables for yourself. No emails after 7. I don't take work calls on a weekend. I'm not going to work between Christmas and New Year. To be clear in that story, I ended up not working between Christmas and New Year. You might even schedule a weekly CEO day, half a day or a full day with no meetings. Just reserved to think. I read an incredible book recently that said, as a business owner, Have you scheduled time to think? Now, I'm a runner. Well, sometimes I'm a runner, but when I'm running, that's when I really think. But the frustration thing is I'm a 48-year-old runner. So sometimes I think of some great ideas, and by the time I get home, I've forgotten them. But what that does tell me is I need time to think, and I suspect you will be exactly the same. So when is your time for big picture thinking? And again, if you're sitting there going, God, Jane, I can't do that. I haven't got time for that. That's because we're stuck in the weeds. And I would push back even harder and go, that's where you need to make time. We need to delegate some of the tasks, the job, the to-do that you are doing, and you need to go away and think and strategize about your business. So when you create these boundaries, such as no emails after 7 or not working weekends, communicate these boundaries to your team. Communicate it to your clients if necessary. You will find that most people will respect them, and you will perform better with breathing room. Your team need this as well. I'm a very big fan that, the way that we treat ourselves is how we treat other people. There are other routes as well to start evading the classic burnout at this time of year. It's Christmas. It's obviously easy to let good habits slip. What I would argue is just make sure that you still get away from your desk for lunch. You get a reasonable sleep schedule. These aren't luxuries. These are refueling pits. If you've abandoned these habits, then absolutely reintroduce them now. I've got one client who, before they do any form of work, before they look at any form of emails, they go for a 20-minute morning walk. I've got another client that meditates at midday. Give yourself permission to rest. An hour taking a mental break is not time wasted. It's how you present breakdowns and burnouts. Again, I was looking at some data stacks before we started recording this. It's something like 40% of global executives are considering leaving their jobs due to burnout this year. Do you want to be part of that statistic? So when you set boundaries and when you care for your own health, you're ensuring that you can lead your company into 2026 with strength and clarity. And your team needs to see you prioritize balance. I've been really lucky working with the team at Centered Excellence now for some time. Prioritizing balance is key within our business. I see my business owners do it, and then I follow suit. And easing burnout allows us to be more productive. So encourage your team to take some time off if they've hit their goals. Encourage them to set boundaries of their own. A culture that respects downtime in an industry that isn't known for that will pay off in sustained performance. Let's start breaking the mold in the recruitment industry. I come from the era of work hard, play hard, which has led to a very exhausted Jane at certain parts of the year. We live in a new world in recruitment now, and I would lead with empathy. And then we cultivate a loyal, motivated team who will give you their best performance to the end of the year and the start of the next one. So one of the things that we've looked at recently working with our client base in Centered Excellence is quick wins. Like, how do you want to end the year? What does that look like? And that's what I would do now. I would take this time to set maybe 1, 2, maximum 3 short-term achievable goals for you and your team. What could you knock out this side of 2026 that's going to make everybody high five in the office, cheer, shout? It could be reviving an old client relationship. It could be clearing out a backlog in your CRM. Keep these goals very small and very clear. Think about them as like low-hanging fruit that gives you a quick dopamine hit. Research says that we often overestimate what we can do in a week, but we underestimate what we can do in a focused month. So zero in on a few important tasks and pour your energy in there. Trim that to-do list down to avoid overwhelm. Ask yourself, and maybe take this to your team, what absolutely needs to get done before December 31st? What can wait till January? And then be ruthless in that prioritization. Consciously let go of less critical tasks. You'll then free up capacity to score those quick wins. Focus indeed on what you can do to move the needle now and give your team clarity. Standing in front of your team going, come on guys, we've got to really push through December, isn't giving anybody clarity. Saying these are the 4 things we're going to achieve before the year end and working towards those absolutely is going to give you energy. And then let's celebrate. It is the season to be merry. When energy is low, celebrating progress becomes even more important. Make it a point to acknowledge accomplishments, no matter how small. Did a team member bring in a new lead? Has somebody managed to get hold of that client they've been trying to get hold of all year? Has the CRM been cleared up a little bit? Shout it out. Team meetings. Start your meetings with wins of the week. Big fan of introducing incentives, maybe a team lunch if you close X amount of deals, finishing early on Christmas Eve. Positive reinforcement is a hugely powerful antidote to year-end exhaustion. It reminds everybody that their efforts matter and are making a dent. So, talk about breaking big projects into micro goals that can be finished in days, not weeks. So, for example, you might have... so one of my clients has a big goal of improving their client outreach process. That's quite big, it's quite vague. So what we've been doing is chunking that into micro goals. So this week, coaching call with them today. This week, the objective is draft a new outreach email template by Friday. When that micro goal is achieved, we say yes, hell yes, and we can still get things done. We can get things done even in December. Momentum is the best cure for that kind of sluggish feeling. Once it starts rolling, it's easier to carry into the next task and right into the next year. So reflecting back on wins, use these wins as a chance to reflect on the year's success. Take a beat to remind the team and yourself of how far you've come in 2025. I got a gorgeous text message from one of my clients today, just saying it had been a rough couple of weeks, but they took a moment to celebrate what they'd done in 2025. And this client has moved mountains. They've done exceptionally well. They've doubled their turnover in 12 months. And that needs to be celebrated. Often in the hustle, we forget to appreciate the journey. By recognizing just even a few proud moments from earlier in the year, you'll reignite that sense of purpose and pride. It is the perfect fuel to finish the year strong. And a team and a leader that feels proud of past wins will be driven to create new ones. So, it's been a slightly different episode today. This is what happens when I'm allowed to fly solo. But as I close out this episode and this year, please remember that finishing strong isn't about grinding yourself and your team into the ground. It's about taking charge of that narrative and ending on your terms. You have acknowledged that feeling of burnout and slump. And that's a victory in itself. And now you've got the tools, you've got a refreshed mindset, you've got a lighter to-do list, you've delegated, you've got healthier boundaries, and a focus on meaningful short-term wins. These are the levers that we pull to transform exhaustion into momentum. Take a moment. Think about how you want to feel on December 31st. Imagine looking back and saying, yeah, it was a challenging year, but we gave that last month our best. Gave that last month our best in a smart, sustainable way. We didn't quit. We adapted. We pushed through with purpose. That feeling is better than just crawling over the line or getting to Christmas Eve and sitting on the sofa with a tub of Quality Streets or Heroes and going, oh, thank God that's over. As a business leader, I know you have what it takes to lead by example and inspire your team in these few final weeks. You've been building resilience all year long, and now is the time to use it. So no matter what 2025 threw at you, you're still here. You're still pushing your business and you're still building your people, and that is something to be absolutely proud of. Setting your sights on not finishing the year in a state of exhaustion, but in a state of pride. Take a deep breath. Implement some of the strategies we've talked about today and watch what a difference that makes. You will enter 2026 not in recovery mode, but in an absolutely ready to rock mode, and your team will as well. Remember, the goal is now to finish 2025 proud, not just finished. And you have absolutely got this. Obviously, if you are looking to build and grow your recruitment company in 2026, we have got varying options for you at Centered Excellence, and I would love to have a conversation with you. Please do just click on the links below to book a call with us, and we will show you how we can help you achieve your goals and grow in 2026.